Okay guys, now I have the back panel of my dress pattern slashed, and this is what I have after slashing. Okay, so this is the center side and this is the side seam side. So I will label this side as a dot line, this side also as the dot. Now I will be showing you how to grade the front panel of a straight dress. This is a dress without joining on the waistline, and I have my pattern with me, which I've slashed into two. I cut out the dot I have in between, so which makes me have this pattern in two places. So this part is the center front, so this is the dot side, and this is the side seam, and this part is the dot side. Now I have my fresh pattern paper on my drafting table, and I will be working on this part first, which is the center front part. Here is my starting point line, and this is the center front of my pattern, and this side is going to be the center front of my fresh pattern paper. So I will align the center front I have on my pattern on the center front of my fresh pattern paper, like so, and the edges of my pattern will align with the starting point line I drew out. So this part has to align properly, purposely, because this is going to be on fold. Okay guys, now I have my pattern traced out on the fresh pattern paper. Then I will be transferring my horizontal lines on the fresh pattern paper as well. Okay, so now I can separate my pattern from my fresh pattern paper. Okay guys, now I have my lines traced out, and this is what I have after tracing the lines out. So this is my bust level, this is the empire level, and this is a waist level. So now the next step is to extend this downward to make a dress. Now I will be inserting the remaining vertical measurements in order to make this a complete dress length, which are the hip level and the dress length. In this case, I don't need the knee level. The knee level is only needed on the back panel. So on the front panel, the knee level is not needed. So I will insert the hip level of 9 inches and the dress length is 39.5 inches. After which I will add 2 inches as my hem allowance. So you can see I'm taking the measurements on both sides. I need to take the measurements on both sides purposely because the waistline is not on a straight line, because a dart manipulation has been applied on this pattern. So I did not have the waistline on a straight line. So you have to follow the shape you have on your pattern in order to extend this downward. Okay, so this is the hip level. Then I will insert the skirt, the dress length. So the dress length is 39.5 inches. Okay, so this is 39.5 inches, and this is the 2 inches for the hem allowance, and I marked the measurement on both sides. Now the next step is to extend the waistline downward to the dress length point. So what I will be doing is I will take the measurement I have on the waistline, and I will be inserting the same measurement on the hip level. So here I have 4 inches, so I will insert the same 4 inches on the hip level. So it has to be 4 inches because I'm working on the dart line. So here is a dart point. If I take this measurement like so, I will have 3.75, so which is the bust span measurement I'm working with. So I have 3.75, but if I follow this shape, I will have 4 inches. So I follow the shape and I inserted the same 4 inches on this part. So this is a dart part, so this part will be joined back to this side. Then I will take my ruler and connect this straight to the hip, from the waist to the hip. Can you see what I have? Then on the dress length, I will insert the same measurement, which is 4 inches. So here is the 4 inches point. Then I will connect this point together with a straight ruler as well, from the hip level downward to the dress length. And I'll stop on the dress length. I'm not extending the line to the hem allowance line. So guys, now I'm done with the construction of this part. So the next step is to add my seam allowances all around the dart part. So this is the allowance I will use in joining this to the other piece, which is this. So I need 1/2 inch of seam allowance by this side. For the center front, no seam allowance is needed. So from the upper part, I will add my seam allowance of 1/2 inch, following the shape I have on my pattern, downward to the hemline. Now guys, I have my seam allowances added on my pattern, and this is what I have for this part. So now to the second part of my front panel, I will place it beside the first piece, like so. Now I have my pattern taped together with my pattern paper. So the next step is to trace out the shape I have on my pattern. Now I have my pattern transferred on a new pattern paper. Then I can remove my pattern, then trace out my lines. So guys, now I have my lines traced out, as you can see. So this is the second piece of my front panel. So the next step is to extend this downward to the dress length point. So from the waistline, I will insert the hip measurement of 9 inches. So I'm taking the measurement on both sides purposely because of the shape I have on the waistline. Okay, then I will insert the dress length measurement of 39.5 inches. Okay guys, now I have my vertical measurements inserted. Here is the hip level, the dress length, and the hem allowance. So the next step is to extend this part downward on a straight line. This is the side seam, and this part is a dart side. So I will extend the dart point on the waistline. I will take it down on a straight line downward to the dress length point, and I will make sure I have a perfect straight line. So in order to have a perfect straight line, I will confirm the measurement I have from the edge of my pattern paper to this point. Okay, I have 6.6 inches. So I'll be inserting 6.625 like so. Then I will connect the dotted lines together. So this is just for me to have a perfect straight line. Now I have the dart line extended downwards to the dress length point. So the next step is to construct the side seam. In constructing the side seam, I will be inserting the remaining hip circumference measurements I have left here. In getting the remaining measurements, I will subtract quarter of the hip circumference measurements I'm working with what I have on the first part of my front panel. Here I have 3.75, which is the bust span measurement I used in constructing the dart. Okay, and the quarter of the hip circumference measurement I'm working with is 11 inches. And I added ease of 0.5, which makes it 11.5 inches. So I will subtract 3.75 from 11.5 inches. So whatever I have left is what I will be inserting on this part. So what I will be inserting on this part is 11.5 minus 3.75, which gives me 7.75. So I will take the measurements from the dart line towards this part. So I will insert my 7.75 on a straight line. You can see my measuring tape is not bending, but I made my measuring tape to be on a straight line like this. So here is my hip point. Okay, so the next step is to connect the hip point together with the waist point. So you can see what I have here. So this is the waist point and this is the hip point. So what I have here is the seam allowance of 1 inch. So I will add my seam allowance also at the same time. So from this point I will measure 1 inch. Then I will connect the seam allowance to the seam allowance point. Okay, so now that I have this done, then I will take my measurements downward from this point to the dress length point. So this is going to be on a perfect straight line. The measurement I used on the dress length when I was constructing the back panel was 9.5 inches. So I'm using the same measurement for the front panel as well. And on the first part of the front panel, I used 3.75, which is a dart intake measurement. So I will subtract 3.75 from 9.5 inches. So 9.5 minus 3.75 gives me 5.75 inches. So which means 5.75 is what I have left on this part. So this is what I will be inserting on the dress length point. 5.75. Then I have it there. And I will add my seam allowance of 1 inch. Okay, so the next step is to connect the 2 points together. So this is going to be a perfect straight line from the hip level to the dress length point. So far so good, guys. The pattern is almost ready. The last step is to add my seam allowances on the that side of the pattern, which is this side. As you can see, I have my seam allowance on the neckline, on the shoulder line, on the armhole, and the side seam. So I need to add extra seam allowance on the that side, which I will use in joining the two sides together, this piece and this piece. So for this reason, I will be adding 1/2 inch of seam allowance on this part from the neckline all the way down to the dress length point. Okay guys, now the front panel is ready. I have the seam allowances added all around my pattern, and this is what I have for my pencil dress. Can you see what I have? So this is a dress without joining on the waistline. So now I can proceed in cutting out my pattern. Okay guys, here is the final look of our dress pattern. This is the front panel and this is the back panel. The next step is to go into the construction fully, which I will be showing you in the next video.